2 years since the International Monetary Fund withdrew support from Egypt, the Bretton Woods institution is back and promising unreserved support for the country. President Al-Sisi's charm seems to be winning investors far and wide. We look at the IMF's change of heart. Hello and thank you for joining us on Global Business. I am Penina Karibe, live in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Let's have a look at other stories coming up this half hour. The Kenyan economy to bear the brunt of insecurity threats following the Garissa massacre. And the hidden gem in avocados is found in Burundi. The International Monetary Fund is ready to support Egypt in every possible way. IMF Chief Christine Lagarde said over the weekend that she was pleased to have attended a recent investment conference in Egypt, where the country signed investment agreements worth in excess of $60 billion. The Egyptian presidency said in its statement that Lagarde also lauded recent legislative reforms in the country. Egypt unveiled a host of investment projects during the March Investment Conference, making the $4.7 billion it received in foreign investment in the 2014-2015 financial year seem like a drop in the ocean. The Egyptian government expects a 4% GDP growth this financial year, up from 2.1% during the previous period. All right, so let's discuss this some more with Yasser Hakim, who joins us live from Cairo. So Yasser, back in 2012, Egypt asked for a $4.8 billion loan from the IMF, but was never granted until it met certain conditions. Now, the same institution says that the biggest danger for Egypt would be faltering in its resolve to stick to reforms following President Al-Sisi's programs. What risks are these?
Well, mainly social risks, because the reforms have been austerity measures, have included lifting or reducing subsidies on energy, increasing taxes, balancing the expenses, reducing expenditure, trying to cut the budget deficit, a cap on wages. These austerity measures have led to a tougher economic situation for many Egyptians. Maybe on the longer term it will be good for the economy. It's good. Numbers are showing positive signs for the economy, but this is a more burden on some Egyptians, and that kind of worries financial institutions, that maybe the government would not stick to the reforms much longer in fear of a backlash from the public. But so far, the government has said that it's adamant on continuing on the same path, on trying to go ahead with these plans to further, for example, reduce more subsidies on energy, further than that, increase more taxes in the next few months. So it's going ahead as planned, though government usually tries to be slow and gradual in these plans to avoid public unrest and social unrest because of the repercussions of austerity measures.
And yeah, so following immense support from the Gulf and other countries, especially after the investment summit last month, does Egypt still need the $4.8 billion? Or what assistance is the country likely to seek from the IMF?
Actually, the government said it does not want to go ahead with the loan that it has previously requested few times, actually, over the last 2012 and 2013, even in 2014. Now the government says it does not want the money. It has enough from the Gulf Arab states. And after the conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, there's a lot of investments being promised, a lot of money pouring in. Around $12 billion are expected next week from the Gulf Arab states. So what the government says it needs from the IMF is more technical assistance, more credit to the economic reforms that the government is undergoing. This is technical assistance and the green light or credit from the IMF gives more confidence to foreign investors to bring in their money, to bring in their investments. So what the government needs is not loans, but investments, investment opportunities, new projects to be opened, new money coming in from industries, different sectors, especially the production sectors, the factories to work. foreign investors bringing in more projects, infrastructure projects. These would be accepted from the IMF. When IMF says that Egypt's economy, and it's confident that Egypt's economy is working fine, then this is a boost to investors to come in. And that's what Egypt needs from the IMF, not the loan that it previously requested.
You know, Yasser, there seems to be a lot of confidence in President Sisi by investors, and he's hardly been in office for a year. What is it he's doing that is attracting investors and other players to Egypt?
Well, he did three things, and he did them fast in just a few months. First of all, the austerity measures I mentioned earlier, the tough austerity measures, reducing subsidies on energy, for example, is something the last three Egyptian presidents have failed to do over 30 years. He did it in 2 months, and they were afraid of a backlash, which did not happen with El-Sisi. He went ahead with these measures that his predecessors have failed to go through with. So this is number one. Number two, he changed a lot of legislations, a lot of laws that his predecessors have failed to do as well. And these laws and legislations were badly needed and badly requested by foreign and local investors, not just foreign investors, but businessmen here. These laws and regulations pertain to bureaucracy, something Egypt badly suffers from. Egypt suffers from a huge bureaucracy and routine, and which also means a lot of corruption. Now, he's changed the laws and he's changed the legislation, but what everyone is waiting for is to adopt these laws. Now they are into place. What we need is adaptation, and what the businessmen are waiting for is that is adopted on the ground. Now this week, for example, he started the one-stop shop. That's a businessman would go to one place with one employee to finish all his paperwork, and this should take a few months. Before, it would take 3-4 years for an investor to take a piece of land, for example, and take the necessary license to open a factory on this piece of land. At least 3, 4, 5 years. What the government is saying is now, from this year, it would take just a few months to take a plot of land and take the license for it and establish your factory or your industry. Will this go ahead? Now, what we see right now, until now, is positive work. The next step is starting the business. That's what the business people are waiting for. They've seen the good work in the last few months, and they hope that it continues at the same path.
All right, Yasser Hakim, live for us there in Cairo. Thanks, Yasser, for joining us. Meantime, Egypt's benchmark index, the EGX 30, lost more than 3% on Monday to close at 8,616 points. Dealers attributed the volatility to unrest in the region and specifically the troubles in Yemen. Proximity to the vital trade route of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait is seen as contributing to investor uncertainty, leading to continued erratic trading. Egyptian press reports that 525 Egyptians have fled Yemen since the Saudi-led coalition started airstrikes on the 25th of last month. Between 6,000 to 7,000 Egyptian expats are working and living in Yemen.
The volatility and the sequence of losses through all last week are continuing. The market started today losing 160 points, close to 2% down. The skirmishes and the war going on in Yemen against the Houthis and so close to the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb is affecting the whole region, and obviously investors, whether local or foreign, are concerned about the region's instability.
The Kenyan currency, the shilling, is expected to weaken further this week following last week's attack by terrorists in the northeastern town of Garissa. The currency weakened to 92 shillings 80 cents per dollar before the long Easter weekend, its lowest level since November 2011. Analysts say the Kenyan unit could take a further beating when business opens on Tuesday as tourists, a key foreign exchange earner, avoid the country. However, they note that the currency recovered fast after the 2013 raid on Nairobi's Westgate Mall that killed 67 people. The shilling gained 3% against the dollar in the month after the attack. Now, while the residents in Garissa are still coming to terms with Thursday's massacre, business owners say the fallout from the closure of the university will affect the local economy massively. It was the only institution of higher learning in the area, and many businesses sprung up around to support the needs of the students and staff. Many have already started counting their losses.
Since Kenya got independence, this was the first higher learning institution to have come to this region, northern Kenya. We had begun seeing the light. As residents of this area, we had begun enjoying part of the national cake as far as economic development. We have now been taken back 50 years.
Libya's lucrative oil fields remain a key target as opposing factions vie for control of a fragmented Libya. Libya has two rival governments claiming legitimacy as their allied militias clash across the country. The oil fields are defended by the Petroleum Field Guards, federalist militias led by Ibrahim Jathran. Jathran has allied himself with the internationally recognized government in Tobruk, where the House of Representatives reside. They are backed further by National Army brigades under the command of the Sidra Operations Room, which is also under the direct command of Tobruk.
If they control the area, then obviously they will not come back for dialogue to negotiate, as there won't be any conciliation. They tried to storm it but failed many times, and we see their retreat as an enforced retreat. Now, regarding the security situation in the oil ports, it's excellent, and I would like to promise the Libyan people that our situation is excellent, and the security situation is great in the oil ports and in the oil fields as well, and currently we don't have any problems, and we could go back to export oil anytime.
Now, staying in Libya, determined shoppers are doing their best to get a good deal at the 43rd Tripoli International Trade Fair. Jewelry, accessories and homeware are just some of the goods available. International firms are absent, leaving a handful of companies from Western Libya to show off their produce. But the crowds have not been discouraged. The fair proceeds despite fighting just 30 kilometers from the city. The Tripoli International Trade Fair will end on the 12th of this month.
There are positive signs in the fair here today. There's a lot of response and many people attended, and we are thankful to God. And we are optimistic that it will be a successful one, despite all of the current turmoil in the country and circumstances in Tripoli.
Honestly, I thank the fair's organizers for providing stands for us, and thanks to God and the attendance of the government authorities in the beautiful opening of the fair. My participation is mostly of handmade products and incense.
Across the border, Algeria's Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security is running a job fair that has attracted in excess of 300 small and medium enterprises. The country has been battling brain drain and economic development disparity between northern and southern provinces, leading to frequent protests and a poor business environment. The country has since embarked on a raft of policies to accelerate employment creation.
The fair has been particularly attractive to fresh graduates and people who have recently lost their jobs. The country, like many in Africa, has failed to keep up employment creation with the number of people joining the labor market every year. However, the government has recently implemented employment creation policies, and this fair is seen as one opportunity where some of those policies can be tested.
The National Employment Agency is a national public employment service established through 365 local agencies that carry out tasks both for the job seekers and employers. Our main mission is the intermediation between job offers and job seekers in the economic sector. Job seekers have the opportunity to register in the different ANIM agencies. Our role is to do research about jobs or specialties offered by employers or companies, and we compare them to the exact profile of the job seeker. This way, we can satisfy the demand of employers who are in need for labor on one hand, and offer employment for young people on the other hand.
Algeria's abundant natural resources and underdeveloped manufacturing industry have been fertile ground for foreign companies that are required to employ Algerian citizens as they exploit their resources for local use and export.
I used to live 2 years in China, so when I was in China, I saw that people in China love this kind of food, love chicken feet very, very much. So when I come back to my country, I start to produce it, because in my country we are throwing this these goods. We are throwing away these goods. So when I come back to my country, I open a factory here and I start to produce chicken feet. And I have employed here many people, 45 people, employees here. So and now we are producing and exporting to China this food.
Algerian statistics indicate that the national unemployment rate reached 10.6% in 2014. The problem is made worse by a lack of suitable jobs that lead specialized workers to seek employment opportunities elsewhere, leading to a severe brain drain. To solve this, the Algerian government has increased efforts to attract foreign investment and is encouraging the development of non-public enterprises. Jean Keo, CCTV.
You're watching Global Business, coming up after the break. Cameroon's national carrier expands its fleet with Chinese-built MH60s. And we review progress with the construction of Africa's largest hydroelectric dam, Ethiopia's Renaissance project.
Africa is on the move. It's home to 7 of the world's 10 fastest growing economies. We help you make sense of the fast-changing African business landscape. We take you where the business is happening.
Global Business, weekdays at this time on CCTV Africa.
You're watching Global Business. Welcome back. Cameroon's national carrier, the Cameroon Airlines Corporation, or CAMAIR, has taken delivery of 2 Chinese-built aircrafts, the MH60. The latest additions are expected to increase frequency of domestic flights as well as resume domestic routes that had been abandoned. The airline also plans to take regional routes with the new planes.
Cameroon's national carrier has taken delivery of 2 Chinese-built MS-60 aircrafts in a bid to revamp the country's domestic airline service. The turboprop-powered aircrafts that were received by the Minister for Transport and the Governor of the Coastal Region are from Xi'an Aircraft Company in China.
The Ministry of Defense and the Air Force have had their MA-60 aircraft since November 2012. It has been flying safely since delivery. It's often used by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, by the Minister of Defense, and by other authorities. It flies each and every week and has not had a problem since 2012.
The 70-seater aircraft will be used to increase domestic routes across the country. Many were cut due to a lack of planes.
We have the most efficient certifying tool in the sub-region. The Cameroonian Aeronautics Authority is in charge of certifying other countries' planes. Today, AirSEMAC is requesting certification, and they will get it. There is no problem. Those planes are already flying in different countries of the sub-region.
The latest additions have been a welcome relief for travelers.
With such airplanes, we no longer have to wait for bigger aircrafts. We can already use them for domestic flights throughout the country. So yes, we are happy about it.
Other national carriers in Africa that use the MS-60 planes include Air Congo, Zambia Air Force, Air Zimbabwe and Air Burundi. Wazir Khamsin, CCTV.
Ethiopia is building one of the world's largest dams on the River Nile. It has been 4 years since this 6,000 megawatts of electricity producing dam construction started. CCTV's Grim Chala has been in Guba, 800 kilometers west of Addis Ababa, where the dam is being built. He witnessed the progress made so far and filed the following report.
This is Africa's #1 hydropower generating dam in the making. It is now 42% complete and counting. This dam is the largest hydropower project currently in the continent.
This is a 6,000 megawatts of electricity. Power for sustainable development, energy for sustainable development is a backbone. So it will boost our economy, it will support our program. So ultimately, we are measuring our lives standards. Today is better than yesterday, and we are 100% sure tomorrow is better than also today.
This dam has 16 power generating units, each of them producing 375 megawatts of electricity. That in total means 6,000 megawatts of hydroelectric power is produced out of the Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam. It has been 4 years since the construction work started here in Guba, 800 kilometers from the capital Addis Ababa. The whole country celebrated that day at the dam site with musical performances to show solidarity for the workers here. Ethiopia's Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mekonnen said what has been started will be finished.
Our Grand Renaissance, for which you're celebrating its 4th year anniversary sunscreen construction, began. It's a flagship project implemented through the joint effort exerted by both our government and the people. The work of this dam is a sign of our people's commitment in eradicating our main enemy, poverty.
The recent breakthrough agreement between Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan endorsed the dam. The win-win agreement has it that Ethiopia and Egypt will each have a share of the water and none will be affected. The project manager, however, says the dam will give the two nations far-reaching benefits.
This dam will regulate flow. By regulating flow means there will not be any overflooding after the completion of this project. You know how Khartoum is flooded every year during wet season. As a result of this dam, this will be stopped. We are constructing for generation of electricity, but this will be considered as a flood prevention structure. You know, it has a dual purpose. We are constructing for generation of electricity, but at the same time, for the other downstream countries, it will benefit as a as a flood protection structure.
When completed, this place will have 70 billion cubic meters of reservoir that forms the biggest man-made lake in the region. The Renaissance Dam costs $4.8 billion, which is being covered by Ethiopia. Grumjala CCTV, Guba, Western Ethiopia.
A lack of charging points is among the main factor hindering the growth of China's electric vehicle market. While the government is pushing for a countrywide mass adoption, consumers are reluctant to give up the gas and go green. Chang Nini reports.
Going green and electric. Jiao Jian has been driving a Beijing Auto electric four-seater for 3 months now. The decision was made after she tried, without any luck, at license plate lottery system for 2 years. But the joy of finally owning an electric car comes with its own problems.
Charging is always difficult. I have no home charging setup because I don't own a private parking spot, and the closest charging station is still a good 5 kilometers away. That means I have to drive here at least 3 times a week.
Charging at faraway spots increases time and parking fares. Statistics show that Beijing has more than 1,500 charging points scattered around the city. But taxi driver Yan Haijing said not all of them are open to private users.
Before we were handed over the electric vehicles, we searched online and found lots of charging points, most in 4S stores, but they were customer only. I need to charge twice a day and it's really inconvenient.
Despite the government subsidies on electric vehicles, consumers are daunted by the prospects of being stranded halfway home. Of the 5 million strong cars on Beijing roads, electric vehicles number about 2,000. It's still the choice of a few. But Professor Xue Xu from Peking University said the situation is about to change.
I believe that electric vehicles will become a popular choice in the coming 3 to 5 years, as the government continues to address infrastructure needs. However, battery technology continues to hinder mass adoption. I think Chinese companies should invest and research more in developing larger batteries before the market is taken over by international brands.
Global automakers are now racing to double the driving range of electric vehicles, but the domestic brands have a lot of catching up to do. For example, Jiaojian's Beijing Auto electric vehicle delivers 150 kilometers on one charge, as opposed to over 400 kilometers from a Tesla Model S. Jiao hopes the breakthrough in the battery technology could address the range anxiety and make it a choice for more. Car owners believe that electric vehicles can address a gap left by the policy on license plate control. However, its short battery life and the lack of widespread and efficient charging network means that there's a long road ahead to mainstream the market for electric vehicles. Zhang Yini, CCTV, Beijing.
And still ahead here on Global Business. What's in an avocado? We find out from Burundi next. Some have described the avocado as the world's most perfect food for its numerous health benefits, including low cholesterol, high fiber, immune booster, and all-round brain food. And perhaps in no other place does this ring true than in Burundi, where the avocado is almost a way of life, used in almost everything. Here's CCTV's Jin Kerr with more from the avocado nation and the man who helped make it popular.
This is Giteha Market in Burundi's central region. Awash in green with what is not only the region's most popular product, but the entire country's as well.
We like them because they are nutritious, important for the body. They're eaten with bread and also in food.
And for one of the world's poorest countries with high malnutrition rates, this has provided much needed relief. It was sparked by the country's president Pierre Nkurunziza 7 years ago. Backed by a belief and a little hope, the president launched a nationwide campaign to plant avocados. His plan, that avocado farming will provide jobs for the thousands of unemployed youth in the processing plants and to farmers selling the fruits to the plants. President Nkurunziza distributed free seedlings to thousands of farmers around the country. Indeed, almost every homestead here has an avocado tree or trees, courtesy of that initiative by the president, who had hoped Burundi would become a major avocado exporter. But years on, Burundians may be eating healthy, but avocados are really not doing much to the country's economy. Hakizimana Melons was among the beneficiaries of the free avocado seedlings 5 years ago. The 60-year-old successful coffee and banana farmer says avocado sales are happening, but he's yet to break even.
I am able to sell some of them to the plants to make things like soap, but the others I sell in the market or supply for people in Bujumbura, but the market is quite limited.
The government admits to struggling with the project largely due to what it calls logistical challenges and the country's poor status.
It's hard for our farmers to just plant avocados because they don't have enough land. About 300 to 500 people live in 1 kilometer square, and almost all homesteads just have half an acre, so they're forced to plant other things as well.
As a result, the government has now started a diversification campaign urging farmers to plant pineapples, bananas, oranges, and tangerines. Jane Keo, CCTV.
And that's it on this edition of Global Business. To send your feedback to Global Business Africa at cctv.com. You can visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, and you can also stay in touch with Global Business on Twitter using the handle at CCTV News Africa. I am Penina Karibe. Thanks for watching.